starting here.
Okay. So can you give examples of positive implicit bias?
Can you clarify?
So the negative implicit bias that you stated in your video was like profiling people like wrongly. So what would be a positive way that police officers use implicit bias?
I would imagine that a police officer could use, well, the thing about implicit bias, before I answer the question, the thing about implicit bias is it's unconscious, and so you don't even realize that that you have that bias.
Okay.
You know, like the purpose of the training is to bring it top of mind so that you're aware and you can adjust accordingly. So I don't know if there'd be examples of positive implicit bias other than potentially favoring someone because, you know, you believe that they're maybe, I don't want to say maybe someone you're more comfortable with. So you might not react negatively to that person like you would someone that you have a negative bias, implicit bias against. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, thanks. So in the case of Philando Castillo, could it be also argued that the officer fatally shot him not just like due to like implicit bias, like racial profiling, but it was out of fear because the police officer reacted that he claimed that way, or that he claimed that he reacted that way because he thought that Castillo was reaching for a weapon.
Yeah. And I'm sure the officer was probably scared for his own life.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. He could have been responding from that, you know, that gut instinct and for fear of his safety.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things I talked about in the video, or my affirmative, was that implicit bias causes, you know, as a result of implicit bias, like, you know, a black man is 3.9 times more likely than a white man to be shot, you know, in an altercation with a police officer.
Okay.
So when you think about that, you know, it's really a problem, you know, for a man of color, because the police officer who may not even know that they're suffering from implicit bias is reacting in a more serious manner than they would maybe if this was a white man in the car versus a black man.
Okay.
Or a Hispanic man.
Okay. So, will the policy that you propose affect just police departments, or will it be applied to highway patrols and sheriffs?
It would be all law enforcement would go through the training.
So I don't know if we've hit our 3-minute mark, but I have another question just in case.
Sure, go for it.
So, in your video, you explained how they would receive like specific training, like it would be like an 8-hour training.
Yeah.
Do you think that would be like sufficient in one day 8-hour training? Because I know that we all have like workplace trainings. Like I've sat through like harassment and CPR trainings, and those like no one really pays attention to those. So do you think that they'll have like an actual like they'll actually make an impact?
Yeah, so they did this study where they actually tested out doing this type of training. And I talk about it in the video. And in the study, they found that the participants who went through it, a couple of different things happened. And I like my note was right here. Okay. They found that two things. So having awareness of your own personal implicit bias creates a catalyst to change. So it brings it top of mind. So if it's presented to law enforcement officers in a positive way, not like, oh, you're in trouble and, you know, this is a penalty, which is the whole purpose here. It's like, you know, we don't want to penalize police officers, whereas I think some of the other strategies were more reactive versus proactive. This is a way to help them become aware, and which would potentially create more sense of urgency and wanting to pay attention and wanting to be part of, so they could be better at their job. Because I I think it's safe to assume that most people wake up every day and want to do a good job and don't wake up every day saying, I'm going to do a crappy job today. So it would be like at least an 8-hour training, and then an annual, like, full day kind of recertification every year, to, you know, continue to keep it top of mind and have specific techniques to help, you know, to help them overcome their own personal bias.
Cool. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to hit stop.
Okay.